Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
December 19, 2020, the Trojan Horse edition. And we begin with that story as now the naysayers are coming out against the new anti-money laundering whistleblower award program, which allows individuals with internal compliance or audit responsibility to report possible violations to regulators for bounties. Companies are now saying, oh no, we can't have people who know something actually report. Surprise, surprise. The argument, of course, is, well, there's a conflict of interest. But the reality is no compliance officer is going to run to the government right out of the box. They're going to go to the company and try to get something done. What's the company going to do? Well, of course, if they raise a concern, they're going to be fired. So it's really a complete Trojan horse. I'm not aware of any compliance officers that would do this. But companies are going to try to do everything they can to gut this law, so no surprise that the Trojan horse argument is now being made. Next up, from NPR, an article about Timit Gerbru, the Google researcher who was fired after a dispute over an academic paper and speaking out over the need for more women and people of color at the tech giant. The Google AI team wants her to be rehired and promoted. Offering her position back at a higher level would go a long way towards reestablishing trust, said several members of the ethical AI team. Of course, she was terminated for criticisms that the Google AI program was targeting or unfair to minority groups. And she said the company first said she left voluntarily and she resigned, but then she has maintained she has never resigned. So Google's in a big old kerfuffle over this, and obviously the fact that someone would say something they don't like and fire them really speaks to a middle management, small-minded mindset to terminate anyone who they don't like. Next up, from the New York Times, it turns out that the Senate is holding up part of the stimulus talks about trying to rein in the Fed so that it cannot perform its legal and statutory function. It's doing this before the Biden administration comes in because Republican lawmakers want to try to stymie Biden as much as possible, and it's a clear attempt to sabotage not only incoming President Biden, but the nation's economy. Republicans all of a sudden feel that too much money may be in the economy and we may have inflation. Of course, they fail to acknowledge their role in that, and they just want to kneecap Biden going forward. And finally, when the Houston Chronicle says that oil companies should boycott Arctic drilling, you have to stand up and take notice. The lead business columnist, Chris Tomlinson, has said that oil companies should not accept any offers to bid on ANWR, that's the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge lease auction, because one, we don't need oil from that. Two, it would destroy the nation's largest national park. So when the Chronicle says it, listen. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.